Welcome to the Forest School Podcast, a show where I, Lewis, and my co-host, Wem Southerner, set out to explore a shared pedagogy. It's a space where cerebral thinking matters more than craptivities, where educational purpose outweighs pretty resources, and where inclusion is more than just a buzzword. Join us as we overthink the trivial, deep dive into whatever sparks our dopamine, and reflect on what it means to truly hold space for others, holistically and without judgment. Thanks for being here. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm just going to start with me having a big old slurp.
Can I
misophonia.
Can I tell you a story and show you something?
Yeah.
Which then we'll have to describe to listeners. I was cleaning my house today. That's the story. It's so freaking unusual.
I don't believe it. I've heard farcical stories before.
I was sweeping my kitchen floor and nobody was there, just me. Or so I thought. Somebody was there. Under the leg of my table, like, it's hard to describe. I've got a horizontal foot to the legs of my table. Right,
Sure.
Does that make sense? It's got a little archy gap underneath. Somebody was there. I saw a little scuttle. I saw a little movement. I was like, oh my God, have I got cockroaches in my house? Like, this is rank. And I moved the table and it scuttled. And I moved the table and it scuttled. And then I moved the table a bit more. And it was this guy.
Little shrew thing.
It's a pygmy shrew. It's a pygmy shrew. It's a pygmy shrew with a long snout. And I don't know how long it had been living under there, because there was quite a lot of little poops.
Ooh.
I'm hoping that my cat just brought it in not that long ago.
Wait, what's the thing? Is it shrews that have got oil on them that cats don't like, or is that voles?
They taste disgusting. It is shrews, yeah.
Yes, they do want to, but it activates their like prey reflex, so they sort of go like bow bow bow,
Yeah.
and then
Nobody likes a shrew. You'll see them like on paths just discarded because people have caught them and then gone, oh no, it's disgusting. Birds as well, I think, even like buzzards and kestrels and stuff.
Oh really?
I
You think they'd learn to stop catching them?
I think from a
Have
distance,
you
can't really tell.
okay, this is a side topic, but because of the topic of the day, I'm okay with side topics. We're really going into side topics.
Tangents, man.
So have you heard this news story about the new color that they've been able to make people see?
No.
So it will come round to voles and stuff, I promise. We've got like 3 cones in our eyes. We've got a blue cone, a green cone, and a red cone.
Yeah.
And the blue and green are quite close together in terms of wavelength, and the red's not there. And basically, you can't really just hit one cone because it always hits one of the blue and green are too close together. But some scientists have made this machine. You know, when you get your eye tested and you like sit in that thing and it like clamps your face down, and it fires tiny lasers. So it maps your eyeball and it fires tiny lasers at just the green cones. So it's not showing green light. It is just stimulating the green cones. And so only 5 people in the world have seen this color, because it can't actually exist in the world because it's like an artificially made thing in the eye. And the description they've given it is like turquoise, but they said it's the equivalent of like if you'd only ever seen pink and shades of pink, and then someone showed you red, and you would be like, this is the best pink I've ever seen. Yeah. They were like, that's what it is for green. It's like you've only ever seen. Okay, and so this is where it becomes useful to voles, or relevant, not useful. They are the hope is that they then be able to fire lasers into your eye, which would allow us to see in ultraviolet like birds do when they're hunting. You know, like because they see the little wee trail. For people that don't know, like all the little mammals leave a little wee trail as they go, and birds can see in ultraviolet, which means they can see the wee trail and be like, oh, that's where the wee trail stops. There's probably an animal there, and get the thing.
So they're going to make humans see UV with lasers.
But what I'm interested about this, have you ever seen corvids under UV?
No.
So corvids aren't black under UV. They've got these the most incredible Technicolor patterns, and they all have different
see shimmers,
patterns.
Can't you? In the
hang on, yeah, go on.
Well, I've got another side quest off the side quest because you said the phrase "like birds do," and I once
this is a starling under ultraviolet.
Yeah, I think I have seen that actually.
And like, crows and stuff as well. They're just like these crazy cool colors. which I think would be very cool. Anyway, sorry, what was your
side
tangent?
quest is like birds do. I once went to see a comedian with some friends, and one of my friends is quite tall and quite. He's just got this aura of like lucky and noticeable, but yet he's quite shy, and so he always gets picked on for volunteering things, comedian things. So anyway, he gets dragged up on stage, and the comedian sits in a chair and gets my friend to stand next to him, and then the comedian's like, "Give me a drink." And there's like a bottle of water on the floor. So my friend looks at the bottle of water and gives it to him. He's like, "No, like birds do." And he made my friend take a gulp of the water and then spit it into his mouth.
And this is 2020, is it? This is happening in?
No, this was probably, I'm going to go like 2006 maybe. Anyway.
Oh, germs didn't exist back then.
Birds do has a special meaning for me. And you said that phrase, so I had to then talk about the story. Yes, listeners, guess what? Guess what today's episode is all
Why
about?
are tangents okay? Why are tangents okay?
ADHD. And because we went to see the stand-up and broadcaster and writer Robin
Author
Ince.
and writer.
Yes.
Yes.
On Wednesday night, didn't we? Doing a book event for his latest book, which is called Weirdly Normal and Normally Weird, or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Or a combination of that, the wrong way, one way around.
Yes. So
set up by our local independent bookshop. Let's wave some flags of Lisnojan and independent bookshops. Independent bookshops keeping things going.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, and it was an interesting chat. Well, he just sort of rambled, didn't he? But a bit about the book and a bit about his life and how he has discovered that he is ADHD. Kind of by accident, somebody said to him, "Hey, I think you're maybe ADHD," and then helped him with his diagnosis. And it was like lots of stuff that I think you'd agree. Like I thought about that stuff before or knew that stuff before, so a bit of an entry level kind of thing about like what the difference between neurodiversity and neurodivergence, for example, all of those things that are like entry level, and then some more like profound and interesting things that really resonated for me. We haven't spoken about this yet.
No, we haven't debriefed about this at all, so which is interesting.
I really liked the way that he spoke about it, and he was very honest that this is just my experience. And you've read the whole book, and I've only read the beginning. But he's very honest. That's his own experience. But I found the reflections on his neurodivergence not as a cliche, it's a superpower, because I don't dig that personally. But his viewpoint and his reflections on the challenges that he faces with his neurodivergence being one side of the same coin, and the other side of that coin being abilities to do things. Like, for example, he gave an example of like, he'd forgotten that he was interviewing a book author. I thought it was the next day. It was actually that day in 45 minutes time. He managed to get there a little bit late, hadn't read any of this person's books, but was able to have like a 90-minute, really interesting conversation with them, which the audience really enjoyed. And the audience said to him afterwards, like, "Oh, I didn't realize you were friends with that author. How long have you known each other?" And that being like the flip positive side of the thing that was a challenge.
I'm back, hopefully.
Yeah. What were your kind of takeaways from it?
I think I think you're right to say that he was. I really appreciated that it was his experience and that it wasn't, because I think there are some things where, because of it's hard to separate like what's the thing and what's because of the thing. Hang on, that'll make sense in a minute. There's a lot of books about people who have realized their neurodiversity later in life, and they're written from the point of view as if they are experts. And sometimes that is because they have become experts because it's become their hyperfocus, because they, have needed to do that thing. And then sometimes I think there's stuff which is like, people aren't acknowledging that this is just their experience, and they sort of put forwards that like they are now an expert because they have the thing. And I really appreciated that his kind of viewpoint was like, here's my experience and here's how it is. And, a lot of, he was saying at the end of the talk, he was doing a lot of like other book recommendations and saying that his jam is like his jam is basically any book where people are talking about their essentially inner world anyone who's talking about like what is their experience of life like,
and especially he said people that aren't like him as well, didn't he? He said like that's his recommendation, just read books about people that are really good.
I have ordered one of the books that he recommended already. I have ordered let me look it up what I've ordered so that I can make sure I got the name right. I have ordered, well, actually 2 in a series, Undrowned, Black Feminist Lessons from Marine Mammals.
Amazing.
Which sounds absolutely amazing. And they said that apparently he talked to that author and they were like, you're not the audience I was imagining when I was writing the book. But so he was saying, you know, talking about his experience and that he likes to learn from other people's experiences, which I think is also true, because I think that's where you find a lot of humanity, is hearing like wildly different experiences to your own, but also in that hearing common ground and hearing like, oh right, that's true for me as well. I wouldn't have anticipated that, or like, wow, I have a similar experience, but I've always interpreted it a different way. I think there is something. And then also I wondered about, you know, the very outdated term of like male autism and female autism, and that and that this old idea that like female autism is like the hyperfocus is socialite and learning the social skills and learning the thing. And I know that that's an outdated idea and that's not necessarily true. However, in the talk, he repeatedly said that his ADHD was more like women's ADHD. That was the phrase he used, in that he said at school he like went in and like was very quiet, but internally was going, and that's very interesting then, that might track why he wants to read about other people's experiences. If the hyperfocus is like understand the social things, that then you go and find like the most dopamine inducing widespread of like, I need to understand the social things, and I don't just want to understand one of the social things. I want to understand all of the social experiences, and then I'll have completed it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that probably rings true for a lot of people who are ADHD, who both experience like overwhelm and a lot of feelings of shame and anxiety, which he talked about a lot, but also like really get fueled up by being with other people, and getting energy from that. And I find that a really interesting contradiction that I definitely resonate with, or resonates with me, I should say. I mean, I also can't stop remembering the bit of the evening where an older gentleman asked a question at the end and said,
"Oh my God." Yeah.
Said to Robin, I might see myself as a normal person. And his wife immediately went, I don't think so. Which absolutely made me lose my shit. And I cackled and I cackled and I could not stop laughing. And then I felt really bad, because then it looked like I was laughing at the dude. I wasn't laughing at the dude. I was laughing at his wife and her timing and her tone and everything else.
The situation was very fun. Like,
I just was shaking in my chair, and that's probably my most memorable moment, if I'm honest.
I felt like for me personally, I got the most out of the stuff before the interview, in quotes, before the interview started, was my favorite bit of it, because Robin came in and he was clearly like slightly nervous, bit jangly, like, how do you start one of these things? And he went off on like 8 tangents at once and was speaking so fast. And I can remember thinking, oh, I didn't bring anything to fiddle with. I don't need to bring anything to fiddle with. You are an audiobook on double speed, and I love this.
Yeah.
And then the interview sort of took that pace down a bit.
Yeah.
And I then was like, okay, I find that a bit more difficult to focus, because I've read the book already, and not everyone there had read the book. And so some of it was going over the book again. I was like, okay, less novelty and interest here. Yeah. And then as time went on, I realized that this is an incredibly privileged position to be in, but the Q&As at the end, a lot of them, understandably, it was a small room. What do you reckon? Maybe 30 people in there, tops. And a lot of the questions were about were people who wanted to know how to support their children or how to support themselves, like how do I find validation with my friends and all of these things. And this is where it's very privileged, because I found that less interesting, because doing this work and having the like online network we have of all the other, I was like, oh, my network of wonky people is so strong, and the place in which I work is so wonky accommodating, that I don't find it interesting for people to go like, how can we support them at school? Because I was like, oh, I'm level 15 away from that. I'm into completely different things. So actually that was interesting to me, that the most interesting bit was the unplanned bit.
Yeah.
And
totally.
then
Just him being him. Yeah, I agree. I also liked his message though about just being unashamedly passionate about something, and
that was
the world
lovely.
can be very judgmental of love and joy, and it's much easier to be negative. And he sort of likened it to being at boarding school, where if you were to say in front of a bunch of people, oh, I love that thing, that everyone's like, aha, now we've got ammunition, we can absolutely roast you for this, oh my god, you're so vulnerable. And him kind of celebrating being vulnerable and being like, I'm just gonna flip and wear my heart on my sleeve. If I love something, I'm going to absolutely say it and revel in it. And I thought that was a really lovely thing to talk about if we're kind of looking at like unmasking and being authentically yourself, and how your life might change if you seek a diagnosis, which he has. And a lot of the talk was about that, wasn't it, about how it has changed his life. And he talked a bit about all this whole, like, the media portraying these messages of
the overdiagnosis book that's come out recently. It's got a lot of attention. It's got a lot of attention.
Yeah, and that most people, so many people going, oh, these labels, oh, everybody's this or that, the other these days, it didn't exist in my day, all of that sort of stuff. And he made a nice point that said that sort of anecdotally, he hadn't met anybody who had received a diagnosis and getting the diagnosis had made their life worse. He said that, obviously the people kind of seeking diagnoses and that being a challenging journey and having to face up to a lot of things, or it being very, very difficult, but actually having an answer isn't the thing that is going to
there was a great bit, wasn't there? He said in the book where he was saying that like that some study of the people that had got diagnosis, and it was like a lot of them saw no marked improvement in life other than happiness.
Exactly.
And it was like, yeah, that's an improvement, isn't it? Exactly. Isn't happiness an improvement? Yeah. That's so crazy to have written that in a book,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of stuff in there, and a lot of stuff about like validating how you want to be and how you want to interact with the world. And it did make me think a lot about like the work that we do, and that forest school and outdoor leaders do in general, in that like non-judgmental approach. And that a lot of that comes down to, it made me think a lot of the things, like we've had sort of peaks and troughs where people might have pushed back against us online and said like, well, board games aren't really part of forest school. Oh, well, this isn't really, bringing Pokemon cards isn't really part of forest school. And like, I've just, again, feeling very secure in that, like, that's what the people are passionate about. This is the space that they want to come into. And I want to hold that, like, I hold that. I was talking to someone the other day about hierarchies of what's important, and being the like, actually it was mundane because I was talking about where the washing up station goes, but I was saying that the hierarchy of like the place looking welcoming and being a space that is like, when you come in you get that overwhelming sense of nature, is more important to me than the functionality of actually that is the best place for the washing up station to go. I was like, I don't care about the washing up station, hide it, make it awkward, because my priority is that. And in that same way, like my priority of like allowing and facilitating people to be authentically passionate about the things that they are passionate about trumps any of my baggage about like, I should do nature connection, I should do bushcraft, I should do whatever else. And that's a personal hierarchy thing, which maybe comes from, I had very similar experiences of school, of that thing of like, don't be passionate about things because people are going to use that, and also still that thing that exists of like, if you're going to be passionate about something, you have to be like passionate and knowledgeable. That's one of the things that really strikes me. The extreme version of like, you know, when people say you can't wear a band t-shirt if you don't know that, you know, like, oh, name 3 songs or do whatever. But to say like, oh, I'm kind of into like board games. Oh, really? Tell me this 15-hour long German extreme board game thing. Well, can I be passionate but also not knowledgeable? Yes,
eager to learn about it and find out about it. Yes,
or you know, just exist within the wheelhouse. And that was actually one of the things. I know you said that you came away feeling like it was well described, that kind of double-sided coin of here are some of the challenges it presents and here are some of the abilities. I actually came away feeling like, because it was about Robin's experience, and their experience overall is that they are financially successful, they are secure, they have a public persona, all these things, but the marks of success. I actually came away with some real interesting thoughts about like that kind of, and I think this might be its own podcast, because I made a note and sent it to you before about this, but like that like transactional nature of acceptance and accommodation, and that like particularly in that like the very Pierre Novelli talks about this, like that English archetype of like, oh, they're so eccentric but they are brilliant, and the trade-off for accommodating someone is that the society gets their brilliance. And he was on a podcast the other day talking about Isaac Newton apparently had like 3 times the number of like assistants while he was at uni and couldn't dress himself and all this stuff, and like it's like
unless someone made him food. I listened to the same podcast, but everyone they're not really interested in that. They're just interested in the fact that he did all these amazing things, and it's it's worth it. They're eccentric. I mean Robin Ince does address at the beginning of the book that he's really interested in the intersectional nature of these discussions, and again it's really clear that it's like his experience. I haven't finished the book yet. Are there bits where you hear other voices and their experiences?
I don't remember that being, if there is, I don't remember that being a significant part of the book.
Right. I'm just remembering a book that we had Laura on the podcast who wrote The Educator's Guide to PDA.
That's PDA.
And she has written a book about ADHD in women, which I actually contributed to, but I haven't read it yet. And I'm just looking for the...
And would you like to sum that up as a stereotype about what it might...
It is called The Slightly Distracted Woman's Guide to Living with an Adult ADHD Diagnosis by Laura Kirby. I just remembered that I should probably read that. Maybe she should have sent me a copy though. Like, no, there lots and lots of people contributed. That makes me sound like I was some special featured person. I wasn't at all. Just a anonymous voice. I got to go now. What?
You're just going to dig a big hole and then go.
Is that a hole? I don't consider it a hole. I mean, I will think it's a hole if you tell me it's a hole. I'll go away and have some lovely RSD about that.
No, it's not a hole. I enjoyed going to see Robin talk. I think it has made me feel like I would like to go and see more people talk, and maybe, you know, encourage me to keep my eye out about more stuff in the future. It's a very short chat, but I appreciate the catch up.
Yes.
All right, mate.
All right.
Right. See you next time.
See you next
time. I'm going nettle eating tomorrow. Nettle eating competition tomorrow.
You're going to the nettle eating competition. Where's that again? Somewhere in Dorset?
Competition somewhere in Dorset. I don't really know. I'm gonna drive there.
That's very cool. I'm Morris dancing all day at the Tinmouth Folk Festival, and then staying up as late as I can for the solstice on the beach.
Did you see my solstice circles today?
I briefly just did before we came online. Yeah. What is
exciting. That? I know you said you had to go. So I did an art thing this week with some of the homemade kids where I just drew like 50 circles and went, no 2 of the circles can be the same. Mm-hmm. So if that one's a smiley face, none of the rest of them can be smiley faces. Mm-hmm. We have to fill them. Mm-hmm. The first 15 are easy. Then you start to go, oh God, what can it be? then you get into like kids are doing, it's a bit like that storytelling thing of, take the third answer. It really stretches you. So I was feeling a bit bummed out about the summer solstice and the longest day, because I was like, oh, it's only going to get shorter from here. Oh, winter is coming. Boo hoo hoo hoo. Oak King, Holly King, all these things. So I looked it up. It's 182 days between the solstices. So I drew 182 circles this morning. And invited the young families group to colour in some of them. I'm going to colour in the rest of them. But just so I've got in my head a concept of what 182 of something is, so that I don't have this like, oh, it's going to be winter tomorrow. Oh, it's going to be rainy. Oh, it's going to be cold straight away. Just to give myself like, no, enjoy half of the year, Lewis.
Yes. And I love this half coming up. It's my fave. It's the best.
Have you seen, Antonio won't let me get, my partner Antonio won't let me get, there's a lifetime planner. So it's weeks of the year up to the average age of about 85.
Isn't that weird?
And they're just circles, and you just cross them off and you can just see the weeks. But the idea is that it gives you like a different perspective on like, oh, I've sent a third of this has gone, or like, we're going to go away for however many, color them blue if we're on holiday, or color them green if it was, I don't know, a good day or whatever else.
So it's not like you are supposed to be planning. It's like a diary, like you're reflecting rather than planning.
No. It's literally just like a poster of circles.
Oh, okay.
You could do what you want with it. So you could just cross it off if you were a bit nihilistic and a bit like the end is coming, cross. Right. But you could do like, blue days are for holidays, green days are for, how many birthday parties did we go to or whatever. Like,
right.
You could use it to record keep as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. I'm going to go do some colouring, mate.
Oh, have a nice time.
Bye.